Do you feel like you're not good at tech? Well, here's something that's important for you to recognize. You're not alone. There's a lot of people who feel this way, especially people of the older generation. Those of us who didn't grow up with a computer or in a phone in our hands, you know what? A lot of us struggle because we're not very good at tech. Well, guess what? Unfortunately, this is a very costly weakness that we have. It cost us in money because we had to pay other people to create tech for us. But also, probably more importantly, it affects us in terms of flexibility and speed because we don't personally have the ability to step in and fix things or make things happen. We have to hire somebody, find somebody, hire them, get fitted into their schedule, make sure it actually happens. This hurts us. But another place where this really hurts us is in our mindset. Because if you feel like you're not good at something, number one, you're going to avoid it. Number two, you're going to struggle with it anytime people suggest things and make comments about them. And this hurts you. And anytime you have a piece of you that's essential for your life and your business that you've decided you're not good at, that will affect your mindset in many different ways and ultimately will probably affect your self-esteem. So let me tell you a quick story. We were having a family discussion. We do this so every Sunday night. So when my parents got COVID early on during COVID, and we were scared. You know, they went to the hospital a couple of times, and we were very scared. And so we, as a family, I'm the oldest of 8. We decided that each Sunday night we would all get together with my parents, which is pretty cool because there's this big Zoom call with all of us and our parents. As we were having that call, I can't remember whether this Sunday or last Sunday or whatever, we started talking about learning to drive. Now, all of us learned to drive because we had stick shifts in our family. And I'm the oldest, as I said. And so I was the first one to learn to drive a stick shift. And I got to tell you, it was harder than it looked, especially because I grew up in a place with hills. And those of you who have ever trying to learn how to drive stick shift on a hill know that it's complicated to get just the right amount of touch to take your foot off the brake and get going forward without stalling it and without all those things that happen when you're trying to learn how to drive a stick shift, especially on a hill. And we were laughing. We were talking about how there's 2 corners that are, to get to our house, you had to go up this street or you had to go up that street. And both of them, you're coming up a hill, you came to a stop sign or a stop light, and then you had to get going. So all of us had to do this get going on a hill thing. And we were laughing with my mom because I actually made her laugh so hard because she was laughing so hard because I try to get going and I drift back and I try to get going and I drift back and I finally get going and I had to stop at the stop sign again. And she was laughing so hard that she is like, stop, you're gonna make me wet my pants. And I remember that conversation so strongly. And it turns out I was not the only one in the family who had that conversation with my mom, who would burst out laughing at these things. And I realized that learning how to drive a stick shift was hard, especially for me, well, for all my siblings. But the problem was, in our house, if you wanted to drive one of the cars, you had to learn how to drive a stick shift. And so all of us learned. And so in spite of the fact that we were making our mom laugh so hard that she was getting ready to wet her pants, we all eventually learned. How did we learn? Well, we didn't just say, I'm bad at driving a stick shift. I'm bad at driving. I'm never going to drive again. What we did is every one of us went out again the next day, got on the horse, got in the car, and practiced until we learned. So here's my suggestion for you if you are not comfortable with tech. I suggest you can't just bury your head in the sand and say, I'm not good at tech. You actually need to get at least to a minimal area of tech. I'll tell you what that is in just a moment. Here's the way I suggest you do it. Each day, week, whatever, choose to do one thing. So on this day, I'm going to go in and I'm going to look at my specific tools template for a landing page. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to learn how to replace the headline with mine. And I'm going to learn how to replace the copy. And that's what I'm going to do day one. Day two, I'm going to come in and I'm going to look at the instructions and figure out how to put a picture to replace the picture that's in there with my picture. Day three, I'm going to learn how to attach this to my autoresponder so that it can create an autoresponder page. So that it can actually put somebody into my list. Day four, I'm going to figure out how to point at a landing page, at a thank you page. Day five, I'm going to create a landing page. So what you're doing is over a period of 5 days, you've done one little thing each day, and it'll probably take you doing some Googling or YouTubing and looking at their instructions and maybe calling tech support and saying, I can't figure out how to do this, and do that a little bit each day. I'm not saying spend an hour. I'm saying spend 10 minutes or 15 or minute. And so one of those may take you 20. The day you hook up your autoresponder is probably going to take you 20 minutes, but each day do about 10 minutes of work, a little piece, just so you learn that particular skill. But then I suggest you also repeat doing that skill the next day, because just because I managed to make it through that corner where I was trying to get the stick shift going and on a slant and get going again, I couldn't say just because I'd done it once that I had now accomplished it. I had to go back the next day to that same corner until I got it right and could do it every single time. That's how you do this. You practice a little bit in a non-pressure situation, and so you learn how to do it. And by the way, this is not something you do when you're a week and a half before launching your product. This is something you do now, so you've got the skill developed for when you are a week and a half in advance of launching your product. You can just do it. Because the more you do this, the better you get at it. It's just common sense. It's just life. This is the way it works in life. Now, you may always choose to hire. You may say, I'm never going to get good enough to do the good stuff, or I don't have a good sense of design, and so I'm never going to get good enough to create a page that I'm really proud of. That's fine. You can hire somebody to do that kind of work, but I recommend you work until you're good enough to do two key things. The first thing is to be able to do minor changes. So you look at it and you go, oh man, there's a typo. It's 10 o'clock at night. I'll just jump in and I'll fix it myself. I don't need to go off to the person I hired and have them fix it. I'm just going to do that. But secondly, here's the key thing. I want you to do it until you get good enough to shift your mindset, to be able to say, I'm good at tech, or at least I'm okay at tech. I'm no longer afraid of this thing. So my life, I've been afraid of three things. I've been afraid of motorcycles, I've been afraid of girls, and I've been afraid of dancing, because dancing also involved girls and sometimes also involved motorcycles. I never got over my fear of motorcycles. I chose in my life to never deal with motorcycles. I've seen 3 people die in motorcycle accidents. And I just decided, you know what? This is not an essential in my life. I can live my life without getting on motorcycles. And so that's a choice that I made. But I decided that I couldn't choose to be afraid of girls all my life. And since one of the ways to get to girls was to learn how to dance, I had to learn how to dance. And so I actually went through in middle school a process of learning those two things, doing much like we just talked about, step by step, a little each day. This one day, I'm going to say hi to a girl. But I would do it the next day. I had to practice that. So I had to say hi to a different girl. Then the next day, I actually had to do a whole sentence. And you just keep going through that process until you're able to change your mindset of, I'm afraid of girls, to I can actually have a real life conversation with the girl without drooling or getting so frustrated I have to walk away. So that's what I want to have for you. I want you to get to the mindset where you're technologically able to at least hold a conversation in your tech by doing the things that you need to do. You may still choose to hire out the big stuff, but I want you to have the capability, both so you can save the time and money, but also, more importantly, so you remove a limitation from your life so that you can go on. And I just want to close with one comment. I heard my wife say this to somebody one time, and I thought it was brilliant. She actually said it to her mom. Her mom said, I just don't want to do this tech stuff. I'm 80-something years old. I don't want to do it. And my mom says, are you planning to die tomorrow? She said, of course not. And my wife said, tech is essential. Tech is never going away. Tech will become more and more an important part of our life every year for the rest of our life. And the minute you draw a line and say, I don't want to go beyond this in tech, you just crippled yourself from that part of your life. So the ability to talk to your grandkids online, the ability to get pictures of your grandkids, the ability to communicate with your grandkids, the ability to do things without having to get in the car and drive down to a government office, the ability, all these things that if you just say, I don't do tech, you just crippled yourself for the rest of your life. And since I doubt any of us are planning to die tomorrow, how about if we just make the choice that we're going to get good enough to be able to do what we need to do? And tech is just one more obstacle we've got to overcome in our life. And let's just go do this stuff. Hey, I've heard that line before. What's your thought about tech? Let me know in the comments. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.